Mama's asleep.
I won't wake her.
You better go near the fire where it's warm.
No. I'm burning up now.
That's the fever. The doctor said not to get up and move around.
That old fossil. He doesn't know anything. Go to bed. Stay there. That's his only prescription.
And how are you feeling now?
Better. Much better than I've felt in ages. Really, I'm fine now. Only very weak. It's the turning point, I guess. From now on, I'll pick up so quick I'll surprise you. And no thanks to that old fool of a country quack either.
He's always tended to us.
Always helped us to die, you mean? Well, he tended to Pa and Ma and to Mary.
He did the best he knew, I suppose. Well, Andy's bringing a specialist with him when he comes. That ought to suit you.
Is that why you're waiting up all night?
Yes.
For Andy?
Somebody had got to. It's only right that someone meet him after he's been gone 5 years.
5 years? It's a long time.
Yes.
To wait.
It's past now.
Yes, it's past. Have you got his letters with you? Oh. Let me see them, will you? Well, my head was so full of fever when they came, I couldn't make head or tail of it. Let me read them again.
Here, first one's on top.
San Francisco. Just landed from steamer. Have important business to wind up here. We will be home as soon as deal is complete. Business first. It was always Andy's motto. Hope you are all well. And hope you are all well.
He couldn't have known you'd been took sick till I wrote that and answered him.
Of course he couldn't. I'm a fool. Touchy about nothing lately. Just what did you say in your reply?
I had to send it collect.
What did you say? What's the matter with me?
I wrote you had lung trouble.
Oh! You are a fool. How often have I explained to you that it's pleurisy? You can't seem to get it in your head that the pleura is outside the lungs, not in them.
I only wrote what Dr. Smith told me.
He's a damned ignoramus.
It makes no difference. I had to tell Andy something, didn't I?
He sent this last evening. Leaving for home on the midnight train. Just received your wire. Am bringing specialist to see Rob. Will motor to farm from port. Oh, what time is it now?
Around 6, must be.
Yeah. He ought to be here soon. Oh, I'm glad. He's bringing a doctor who knows something. A specialist. Will tell you in a second that there's nothing the matter with my lungs.
You've been coughing an awful lot lately.
For God's sake. Haven't you ever had a bad cold yourself? Your mother's lucky. You're able to sleep so soundly.
Ma's tired. She's been sitting up with me most of the night.
Well, she's been waiting for Andy, too. I couldn't sleep to save my soul. Counted 10 million sheep. If I counted one, no use. Finally gave up trying. Just laid there in the dark, thinking. I was thinking about you, Ruth. How hard these last years must have been for you. I'm sorry, Ruth.
I don't know. They're past now. They were hard on all of us.
All of us. Except Andy. Andy's made a big success of himself, and now he's coming home to let us admire his greatness. Oh, what am I saying? My brain must be sick, too. Oh, and you tell that mother of yours that she's got to stop saying that Mary's death was due to a weak constitution inherited from me. It's got to stop, I tell you.
Why couldn't she'll nag at me, not you?
Oh, because she's down on me. I'm not begging Andy for help.
You might have. He's got plenty.
How could you, of all people, think of taking money from him?
I don't see the harm. He's your own brother.
What's the use of talking to you? I'll be frank, Ruth. I've been an utter failure. I dragged you down with me. I couldn't blame you in all justice for hating me.
I don't hate you. It's been my own fault, too, I suppose.
No, you couldn't help loving Andy.
I don't love anyone.
You needn't deny it. Doesn't matter. Do you know what I've been dreaming back there in the dark? I've been planning our future for when I get well. Well, after all, why shouldn't we have a future? We're young yet. Oh, if only we could shake off the curse of this farm. It's the farm that's ruined our lives, damn it. Now that Andy's coming back, I'll sink my foolish pride, Ruth. Now, I'll borrow the money from Andy. Give us a good start in the city. And we'll go where people live instead of stagnating and start all over again. And I won't be the failure there that I've been here, Ruth. You needn't be ashamed of me there. And I'll prove to you, the reading I've done can be put to some use. I'll write. Or something of the sort. I've always wanted to write. You want to do that, won't you, Ruth?
There's Ma.
She can come too.
She wouldn't.
So that's your answer? You're lying, Ruth. Your mother's just an excuse. You think because Andy's coming back
What's the matter? I'll go with you, Rob. For goodness sakes. Stop that coughing, for goodness sakes.
Oh, don't be afraid. I feel completely well. Really, I do. Now that I can hope again. Oh, if you knew how glorious it feels to have something to look forward to. Well, can't you feel the thrill of it too? The vision of a new life opening up after all the horrible years.
Yes. Yes, but
Do be careful.
Nonsense. I won't be careful. I'm getting all my strength. I feel as light as a feather. One kiss. First in years, isn't it? To greet the dawn of a new life together.
Sit down, Rob. For goodness sake.
No, I won't sit down. You're silly to worry. Listen, all our suffering has been a test through which we had to pass in order to prove ourselves worthy of a final realization. And we did pass through. It hasn't broken us. And now the dream is to come true. Don't you see?
Yes. I see, Rob. But won't you go back to bed now and rest?
No. I want to see the sunrise. It's an augury of good fortune. No sun yet. It isn't time. All I can see is the black rim of the damned hills, outlined against the creeping grayness. It's not a very happy augury, is it? The sun will come. Soon.
Rob.
Yes. I feel as if I could sleep now. Good, sound, restful sleep.
That's what you need most. Ma, wake up.
Oh, glory be. What's the matter with you?
It was Rob. He's just been out here talking to me. I put him back to bed. He acted funny. And his eyes looked so wild-like.
Is that all you woke me up out of a sound sleep for? You scared me near out of my wits.
I was afraid. He was talking so crazy I couldn't quiet him. Didn't want to be alone with him that way. Lord knows what he might do.
Why didn't you run and get Jake?
Jake isn't here, Ma. He quit last night. He hasn't been paid in 3 months.
Can't blame him. What decent person would want to work in a place like this? I wish you'd never married that man.
You want him to speak about him now that he's sick in his bed.
You know very well, Ruth Mayo. If it wasn't for me, helping you on the sly out of my savings, you'd have both been in the poorhouse by now.
Andy'll pay you back, Ma. I can tell him so as Rob will never know.
What did Rob think you and him were living on, I'd like to know?
Don't talk so loud. Let him sleep if he can.
Shh, listen. Ain't that an auto I hear?
Yes, it's Andy, I suppose.
Oh, I don't want him to see me looking aside. I'll lay down in the room the other side. You don't need me now, and I'm dead for sleep.
Hello, Andy, I've been waiting.
I got here as soon as I could. My sister-in-law, Mrs. Mayo, Dr. Fawcett. Where's Rob?
In there.
Is he very bad, Ruth?
He's been getting weaker.
Damn. This way, doctor. How long has this been going on?
You mean how long has he been sick?
Of course, what else?
It was last summer he had a bad spell first. But I think he's been ailing ever since Mary died 8 months ago.
Why didn't you let me know?
I wanted to send you word once, but he only got mad when I told him. He was too proud to ask anything, he said.
Proud to ask me? I can't understand the way you acted. I mean, didn't you see how sick he was getting? God, if I only known.
A letter takes too long to get where you were. We couldn't afford to telegraph. We owed everyone already. And I couldn't ask Ma. She'd been giving us money out of her savings till she hadn't much left. Don't say anything about that to Rob. I never told him. And he'd only get mad if he knew, but I had to. Because Lord knows how we'd have got on if I hadn't.
Do you mean to say? What's the matter with him in God's name? Ruth? Tell me the truth. His mind hasn't gone back on him, has it?
I don't know. I don't know. Mary's dying broke him up terrible, but he's used to her being gone by this, I suppose.
Do you mean to say you're used to it?
There comes a time when you don't mind anymore. Anything.
I'm sorry, Ruth, if I seem to blame you. I didn't realize. The sight of Rob lying in bed there so helpless, it made me furious at everyone. Forgive me, Ruth.
There's nothing to forgive. Doesn't matter.
Thank God I came back before it was too late. This doctor will know exactly what to do. That's the first thing to think of. When Rob's on his feet again, we can get the farm working on a sound basis once more. And I'll see to that before I go.
You're going away again?
I've got to.
But you wrote Rob you was coming home to stay this time.
I expected to, until I got to San Francisco. Then I learned certain facts that make it necessary. To be candid, Ruth, I'm not the rich man you've probably been led to believe by my letters. Not now. I was when I wrote them. I made money hand over fist as long as I stuck to legitimate trading, but I wasn't content with that. I wanted it to come easier. So like all the rest of the idiots, I tried speculation.
You lost everything?
Practically. No, I don't mean I'm dead broke. I saved $10,000 from the wreckage, maybe 20, but that's a poor showing for 5 years hard work. That's why I'll have to go back. I won't leave till Rob's on his feet again. In the meantime, I'll make things fly around here. I need a rest. And the kind of rest I need is hard work in the open, just like I used to do in the old days. Not a word to Rob about my losing money. Remember that, Ruth. You can see why. If he's grown so touchy, he'll never accept a cent if he thought it was hard up. See?
Yes, Andy.
Oh, doctor, won't you have a chair?
I have to catch the 9 o'clock back to the city. It's imperative. I have only a moment. The case of your brother, Mr. Mayo, is...
Rob's gonna die.
Ruth, I'm afraid My diagnosis of your brother's condition forces me to the same conclusion as Mrs. Mayo's.
But Dr. Shirley...
Your brother hasn't long to live. Perhaps a few days. Perhaps only a few hours. It's a marvel he's alive at this moment. My examination revealed that both of his lungs are terribly affected.
Good God.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this. If there was anything that could be done...
There isn't anything?
It's too late. There might have been something 6 months ago.
But if we were to take him to the mountains or to Arizona?
That might have prolonged his life 6 months ago. But now...
Good heavens, you haven't told him this, have you, Doctor?
No. I lied to him. I said, a change of climate. I must leave you.
But there must still be some chance.
There is always that last chance. The miracle. Goodbye, Mrs. Mayo.
Goodbye.
And we better go in and see him. God, I'm afraid to. I know he'll read it in my face. It can't be Ruth. It can't be as hopeless as he said. There's always a fighting chance. We'll take Rob to Arizona. He's got to get well. There must be a chance.
Why must there, Andy?
Rob, what are you doing out of bed? Get right back now and obey the doc, or you're going to get a licking from me.
Help me over to the chair, please, Andy.
Hell, I will. You're going right back to bed. That's where you're going, and stay there.
What, stay there until I die? Hey, Andy. Don't behave like a child. I'm sick of lying down. I'll be more rested sitting up. I swear to you, I'll get out of bed every time you put me there. You have to sit on my chest, and that wouldn't help my health any. Oh, come on, Andy. Don't play the fool. I want to talk to you, and I'm going to. Dying man has some rights, hasn't he?
Don't talk that way, for God's sake. Only let you sit down if you'll promise that. Remember. All right. Easy now. There you are. All right.
Listen. You've asked me not to speak, and I won't. Once I've made my position clear. In the first place, I know I'm dying.
Oh, but that isn't so.
It is so. Don't lie to me. After Ruth put me to bed, before you came, I saw it clearly for the first time. I've been making plans for the future. Yeah, Ruth's and mine. So it came hard at first. The realization. And then once the doctor examined me, I knew, although he tried to lie about it. I wanted to make sure. I listened at the door to what he told you, so don't mock me with fairy tales about Arizona or any such rot as that. Because I'm dying is no reason to treat me as an imbecile or a coward. Now that I know what's happening, I can say kismet to it with all my heart. It was only the silly uncertainty that hurt.
Hey, it isn't foolish. You have got a chance. If you heard all the doctor said, I ought to prove it to you.
You mean when he spoke of the miracle? I don't believe in miracles. Not in my case. And besides, I know more than any doctor could know, because I feel what's coming. But we've agreed not to speak of it. Tell me about yourself. That's what I'm interested in. Your letters were too brief and far apart to be illuminating.
I meant to write oftener.
I judge from them that you accomplished all you set out to do 5 years ago.
That isn't much to boast of.
Have you really, honestly reached that conclusion?
Well, it doesn't seem to amount to much now.
But you're rich, aren't you?
Yes, I suppose so.
I'm glad. You can do to the farm all I've undone. Well, what did you do down there? Tell me. Well, you went into the grain business with that friend of yours?
Yes. After 2 years I had a share in it. I sold out last year.
And then?
I went in on my own.
Still in grain?
Yes.
What's the matter? Well, you look as though I were accusing you of something.
I'm proud enough of the first 4 years. It's after that I'm not boasting of. I took to speculating.
In wheat?
Yes.
What, you made money? Gambling?
Yes.
Oh. I was wondering what the great change was in you. You, a farmer, gambling in a wheat pit with scraps of paper? Oh, there's a spiritual significance in that picture, Andy. I'm a failure, and Ruth's another, but we can both justly lay some of the blame for our stumbling on God. But you're the deepest-dyed failure of the three. You spent 8 years running away from yourself. You used to be a creator. When you loved the farm, you and life, an harmonious partnership. But now, my brain is muddled. Part of what I mean is you're gambling with the thing that you used to love to create proves how far astray. You'll be punished. You'll have to suffer to win back. No use. I can't say it.
Hey. I think I know what you're driving at, Rob. And it's true. I guess.
You have to promise me. Do one thing, Andy. Afterwards.
Hey. I'll promise anything, as God is my judge.
Just remember, Ruth has suffered double her share. Only through contact with suffering will you awaken. Listen, you must marry Ruth afterwards.
Bob!
Hey. Rob, you're tired out. You better lie down and rest a while, don't you think? We can talk later on.
Later on. You always were the optimist, Andy. Yes. Yes, I think I'll rest a while. It's almost sunrise. Isn't it? Come on.
He's out of his mind now, isn't he?
Maybe a little delirious. The fever would do that. God, what a shame. There's nothing we can do but sit and wait.
He was talking wild. Like he used to, only this time it sounded unnatural, don't you think?
I don't know. The things he said to me had truth in them. Even if he did talk them way up in the air, like he always sees things, still. Why do you suppose he want us to promise we... You know what he said.
His mind was wandering, I suppose.
No, there was something in the back of it.
Wanted to make sure I'd be all right after he'd gone, I expect.
No, it wasn't that. He knows very well I naturally look out for you without anything like that.
You might be thinking of... Something happened. 5 years back, that time you came home from the trip.
What happened? What do you mean?
We had a fight.
A fight? What does that to do with me?
It was about you, in a way.
About me?
Yes. Mostly. You see, I'd found out that I'd made a mistake about Rob shortly after we were married, when it was too late.
Mistake? You mean you found out you didn't love Rob?
Yes.
Good God.
And then when Mary came, I thought things would be different. And I'd love him. But it didn't happen that way. I couldn't bear his blundering and his book reading, and I grew to hate him almost.
Ruth.
I couldn't help it. No woman could. It had to be because I loved someone else, I'd found out. I can't do no harm to tell you now. When it's all past and gone and dead. You were the one I really loved. Only I came to the knowledge of it too late.
Then you loved me? That time I came home?
Well, I'd known your real reason for leaving home the first time. Everyone knew it. For 3 years I've been thinking
That I loved you.
Yes. And then that day on the hill, you laughed about what a fool you'd been for loving me once, and well, I knew it was all over.
Good God, but I never thought. And did Rob know?
That's what I started to tell.
We had a fight just before you came. And I got crazy mad and told him all I've told you.
You told Rob you loved me?
Yes.
You mad fool. How could you do such a thing?
I couldn't help it. I'd got to the end of bearing things without talking.
That Rob must have known every moment I stayed here. And yet he never said or showed. God, how he must have suffered. Didn't you know how much he loved you?
Yes, I knew he liked me.
Liked you? What kind of a woman are you? Couldn't you have kept silent? Did you have to torture him? No wonder he's dying. And you lived together for 5 years with this between you?
We lived in the same house.
Does he still think?
I don't know. But we never spoke a word about it since that day. Maybe from the way he went on, he supposes I care for you yet. But I wouldn't know how to feel love, even if I tried anymore.
And I don't love you. That's sure. It's damnable such a thing should be between Rob and me. Well, I love Rob better than anybody in the world and always did. What can I say to him now? He asked me to promise. What am I going to do?
You can promise. So as it'll ease his mind and not mean anything.
What? Lie to him now? When he's dying? No. It's you who will have to do the lying since it must be done. You've got a chance now to undo some of all the suffering you brought on Rob. Go into him. Tell him you never loved me, it was all a mistake. Tell him you only said so because you were mad and didn't know what you were saying. Tell him something, anything that will bring him peace.
He wouldn't believe me.
You have got to make him believe you. Do you hear? You've got to. Now, hurry. You'll never know when you may be too late.
Andy? Andy, he's gone.
He's not.
He's gone. The bed is empty. The window is wide open. He must have crawled out into the yard.
Okay. He can't have gone far. All right, come on. Let's hope that God. Dear God. I knew it. I knew we'd find him here. Hey, Rob. Come on, bud. Come on.
thought I gave you the slip.
You didn't, you old scoundrel. I'm gonna take you right back where you belong in bed.
Oh, don't, Andy. Don't.
You're in pain?
No. I'm dying. I couldn't stand it in the room back there. I feel as if all my life I've been cooped in a room. So I thought I'd try to end as I might if I'd had the courage. Alone. In a ditch by the open road. Watching the sun rise.
Rob, don't talk. You're wasting your strength. Rest a while and then we'll carry you.
Still hoping, Andy? Don't. I know. Doctor said to go to far-off places and I'd be cured. He was right. That was always the cure for me. It's too late for this life.
Rob.
Oh, God. No. You mustn't feel sorry for me. Can't you see? I'm happy. At last, free. Free from the farm. Free to wander on and on. Eternally. Look. Isn't it beautiful? Beyond the hills. I can hear the old voices calling me to come. Come. And this time I'm going. This isn't the end. It's a free beginning. The start of my voyage. I've won to my trip. The right of release. Beyond the horizon. Oh, you ought to be glad. Glad for my sake. Auntie, remember, Ruth has suffered. Remember.
I'll take care of her, I swear to you, Rob.
Andy, only through sacrifice. The secret is beyond there. The sun. Remember.
God damn you. You never told him.
You seemed so happy. Without my lying to him.
This is your doing. You.
Don't. Andy. I couldn't help it. He knew I'd suffered too. He told you to remember.
Forgive me, Ruth. For his sake. And I'll remember. You. We've both made a mess of things. We must try to help each other. And in time, we'll come to know what's right.